Hi, good to see you. Make yourself comfortable because I invite you to enjoy listening to this life story. They say that wives are the last to find out about their husband's affairs. That's exactly what happened to Mabel. She found out about the mistress at the end when Kevin said he was telling her. Leaving, she didn't immediately understand where, why, and for what reason she was leaving. I'm leaving, Mabel. The children have grown up. They don't need me anymore. So there's no point in continuing to tolerate us, said Kevin. Like that, but he tolerated her. Mabel loves her husband, maybe not with the passionate love that is shown in the television series, but she loved him with care and attention. Mabel listened to him at the table while he served dinner, and always supported him, even when I was wrong. I didn't see how much I loved him. So why is Kevin leaving now that Mabel is years old? What is missing from the family? Mabel is a wonderful housewife. Her house is always clean, and she prepares delicious meals. She has also taught her daughters to maintain a cozy home. It's true that Tyler, the youngest son, is lazy, but he's just a child. Those things happen to him. Kevin, where are you going? Your home is here, Mabel told her husband. She didn't clarify if she was leaving for someone else or simply leaving her. She didn't want to know. She wanted to give him a chance for herself and Kevin to leave everything as it is. And when he says he's leaving for another woman and even mentions her name, then the chances will decrease considerably. Mabel, I have somewhere to go. Pretend my whole life for the sake of our children. I pretended, but I don't want to do it anymore. I don't love you, and I never loved you yourself. You know that we got married because of your pregnancy. Kevin did not forgive her, and he hurt her deeply with his words, so she decided definitively that she would not stay in the family. Why, Kevin, could you? Having waited for Tyler to get back from the army, and then leaving, how do I tell him that you've left us? You know where such news can lead when they have a gun in their hands. Shut up, Kevin suddenly burst out. You're going to blackmail me with our son. Stop lecturing me. I'm tired of your morals. Teach your students at school, but leave me alone. You are confusing school and home. Darling, I am not your student. I wanted to leave tomorrow, but I will leave today. I can't stand to see you. Mabel went to the window and looked towards the horizon at the glasses of the trees, stood there and watched. It was easier to hold back the tears that came up and tried to stifle. Mabel's pride always did this. The trees always saved her from humiliating tears, but not today. Kevin wandered around the apartment packing his things. Unconsciously, Mabel began to help Kevin. She took his clothes out of the closet and folded them carefully. When she did something with meticulous perfection, her thoughts were organized and she could analyze what was happening. She considered it the storehouse of her mathematical thinking since she taught this subject at school. Mathematics loves order and precision, and Mabel needed it now more than ever. Kevin snatched the neatly folded clothes from her hands and forced them into her travel bag. This is where you reveal your true self. Cold and calculating mathematician, her husband reproached her. I'm leaving, and you fold my shirts neatly. Any other woman would have already made a fuss and begged me to stay. Your composure suffocates me. Kevin, what good would it be if I started a tantrum? Would I make you stay? No, I would, answered Kevin, but I would feel guilty towards you. Just as it is, I leave you with pleasure and a light heart. And why don't you ask where I'm going and who I'm going with? What do you have to ask? It's already clear that you've decided to leave. So go, said Mabel, waiting for Kevin to stay silent. To be honest, Mabel, I had already received enough unpleasant news in one day, but Kevin didn't stay silent. I left you for Pamela, Kevin said, and smiled evilly. Mabel thought it was a cruel joke. She blinked in confusion. A chaos in her mind was going on. He mixed up and tried to leave, giving him a severe headache. Why do you look at me like a frozen fish? Yes, I'm going with Pamela, Kevin said. He picked up the bags with the packages and left the house. Mabel wanted to shout at him. And what about him? Pamela, Lewis's husband, where are they going to put him? As if he cared, but he didn't shout anything at anyone. There was no one to shout at. The children would come home from university in the afternoon. That was what Mabel had to think about. She had to think about how to explain to them his daughters where had their father gone. But he had to tell the truth. They were adults. Tina would finish her studies this year, and Edna would graduate from university in 2 years. Mabel did not want to humiliate her father in the eyes of her daughters. They loved him, and Kevin loved them. There was only one problem when he left. Kevin didn't even mention the girls or tell Mabel how she should handle the situation with the daughters. He left as if nothing had happened, without worries, and she had to face all the consequences alone. Dad won't be in our lives anymore, he said. Mabel gently left with another woman. For now, she decided not to tell the girls that she left with Pamela, Tina's godmother. Her daughters looked at her with shock, as if she had announced the death of their father. No, girls, my dear dad. He loves you. I'm sure he will continue in contact With you, that's life. I only ask that you don't tell Tyler. Let him continue in peace, serving in the army. He has enough difficulty there," said Mabel as the tears began to flow on their own. "Okay, we won't write to Tyler," Tina promised. "Mom, don't be too sad. Maybe he'll change his mind and come back to us." That's also what happens. Mabel couldn't contain herself, and the tears came out on their own. "Forgive me, children," Mabel cried. "Forgive me for not having been able to keep her father, but what are you saying?" "Mom," Edna hugged her. "To his mother he is a traitor, and you blame yourself. Don't cry." Mommy Tina stroked her mother's head and said, "Mom, do you know where he went? I will go talk to him tomorrow." "No, I don't know," Mabel lied. "There is no need to go anywhere." Mabel sat on the bed and wiped her tear-swollen face with a handkerchief and said, "He's an adult, and I hope he understands what he's doing." When the daughters fell asleep, Mabel went to her room for the first time she would sleep. Without Kevin, of course. When I was traveling, she slept alone, but it was different. She knew that he was working, that he would return. She was waiting for him. Mabel caressed Kevin's pillow and then sank into it with her face. The pillow smelled like her husband. Mabel hugged the pillow as if she were hugging her husband and cried again. She cried for a long time until suddenly anger filled her. Nervously, she began to remove her husband's pillowcase and then removed all the bedding from the bed and replaced it with a clean one. "I hate him," whispered Mabel as she made the bed with fresh sheets. Her heart told her otherwise. She still loved Kevin even more than before. Hate and love were intertwined in Mabel's soul. She could not fall asleep for a long time, analyzing how it was that this Pamela, an obese woman, took her Kevin what she had that Mabel didn't have. Maybe it's just a whim, Mabel consoled herself. Men at that age want to feel like men, and Pamela was available. Maybe Kevin would compare Mabel and Pamela and realize that Pamela wasn't as good of a wife after everything. Being a lover is one thing, and being a wife is completely different. And then what would happen then? Would I really forgive this romance right now? Surely they're involved in love with Pamela while Mabel has cried all her eyes. Would I really forgive all this? As she fell asleep, Mabel decided that yes, Kevin returned to her. He would forgive him. Mabel noticed that Pamela was a beautiful woman. She had unusual almond-shaped eyes with a mischievous look. The color of her eyes was so intense that the pupils were lost, and that made her. Her eyes seemed unreal, and when Pamela drank alcohol, it seemed that her eyes were shining with fire. She had full and juicy lips. Pamela used to dress in a striking way, wearing pendant necklaces and bracelets. It must be admitted that all of that suited her, and Mabel, in a few words, was a teacher. She wore makeup except for lipstick. She had 2 business suits, one gray and one olive green. Even for special occasions, Mabel had 2 dresses, one blue with a white lace collar and another green dress. Mabel's appearance was ordinary. She was neither a beauty nor an ugly woman. However, she had an elegant figure, long legs, beautiful arms, and beautiful hair that she used to comb in the shape of a crown around her head, and she always maintained a straight posture. She was a true aristocrat. At school, Mabel was respected, and on the street where Mabel grew up, they also respected her. Being a teacher is one of the most respected professions. Mabel carried that title with pride and knew perfectly well her virtues and defects. Mabel and Pamela were so opposite that there was nothing to compare between them. If Amabella respected even the men drooled over Pamela. Everything depended on Pamela herself, and how she behaved with the men in her company. She behaved in the same way with everyone. She joked, she laughed, she supported the jokes, but no more than that. One time, Mabel had the impression that her husband was hugging Pamela. It was at her cousin's birthday party. The men went out to the patio to smoke alone. Pamela smoked among the women. That night, her husband drank a lot, and Mabel was watching him. She called him to come home, but he wanted to continue having fun. All the smokers came into the house except Pamela and her husband. Mabel went to see if her husband had fallen asleep somewhere from the patio. They were standing in the shade of the trees when Mabel approached them. He heard as if Pamela had taken Kevin away from her. "I'm drunk," Kevin said when he saw Mabel. "I tripped. Thank goodness Pamela held me." "Mabel, let's go back home." "I'm not." In conditions at that moment, Mabel realized that they were hugging. Then there was no shadow of a doubt in her mind. After classes, Mabel decided to go talk to Kevin's sister, ask her what she should do, how to move forward. Maybe the sister would influence her brother, and he would repent and return to the family. After all, he left. And she said after listening to Mabel, he longed for it. He longed to leave from the first day he met that girl. Our mother, may she rest in peace. I stopped him and told him that if he left with Pamela, he would no longer be her son. She said that you were an exceptional woman, and there are many like Pamela. What else did he want? We have a wonderful family, intelligent children. Ugh, he is a driver. He is not even worth your little finger, Mabel. Kevin loved Mom very much, and that's why he repressed his desire to go with Pamela. He was afraid that Mom would reject him. Our mother had such a strong character. You know it yourself. So, Mabel, I can't help you with this. He's not going to come back. Don't call him. I had the hope that maybe it was temporary madness and he would regret it, said Mabel sadly. He is not going to come back. He will be with her all his life, Mabel. So as not to give you false hopes and to make this clear to you once and for all, I will tell you the truth. He never wanted to marry you. Remember that you got pregnant and Mom asked you if Kevin was the first. Hearing an affirmative answer, Mom began to praise you, saying that over the years you had taken care of yourself and had been serious with other men. She would not allow Kevin to disperse with other grandchildren. So Kevin got married with you by Mom's order, but when he met Pamela, he fell in love with her. So you, Mabel, forget that Mom is gone. There is no one to support Kevin. Mabel didn't want to go home. Everything there reminded her of Kevin. Her life was lived. Her best years they had spent together with Kevin. She surprised herself thinking that the best years they had spent with Kevin were not together but together as if they were neighbors. It was more likely that this was the case, and she had fed herself with illusions of having a real family. It turns out that her husband's heart was not with her and her children, but with Pamela. How this woman infiltrated her family. Pamela was a friend of Mabel's cousin sister. They met Pamela and her husband Louis when they were invited for Christmas. Mabel felt like a woman who had not managed to find love. If they respected her as a person, as a teacher, but no man loved her throughout her life. No man not only loved her, nor was he even interested in her. In 10th grade, Mabel, she fell in love with a classmate, but it was an unrequited and painful love. Later, when she entered the school of education, her studies absorbed her completely and all her feelings faded away. Mabel envied her classmates who went out on dates and attended dances. No one invited her anywhere. Her friend from school got married right after from school and moved to another city. Mabel felt helpless. Without her, she had no romantic adventures in her youth. Everything changed when Kevin appeared. At that time, Mabel was already a math teacher at school. Mabel immediately liked Kevin. She worked as a truck driver in cargo trucks. He was attractive and funny for some reason. She liked his big hands. She would like those strong hands to hug her, caress her. She didn't care about being a teacher or what they would say when they found out about her close relationship with Kevin. Somehow Kevin sensed Mabel's interest and responded to the girl's desires, and then this was repeated for 2 months, and Mabel considered herself the happiest woman, and what turned out was that he simply took advantage of Mabel as if she were a toothbrush or other hygiene object. Kevin didn't have any feelings. He didn't even want to marry her. Tina and Edna, his daughters, were already at home. They had tidied up the house, prepared dinner, and were waiting for their mother. They wanted to support her in every possible way, but they didn't know how exactly Mabel felt that her daughters pitied her. That is where the love for her was found, in her little daughters. Perhaps a similar fate awaited them of not being loved. My little women thought about her daughters. How sad it is to let them go. To the cruel world of men, to be unloved is the most painful word for a woman, and now she is about to get married after finishing university. What her life will be like, only God knows. In 3 months, she will get her diploma, and her father has decided to organize her personal life. What a shame for Mabel. In front of everyone, Mabel began to avoid her neighbors and acquaintances, to avoid them asking her about Kevin's departure. They would express compassion, give advice, or scold Kevin. That is what Mabel did not want, so she began to avoid people. Yes, she saw someone she knew approaching. She immediately crossed to the other side of the street. Mabel did not want people to interfere in her life, in her own life. You could say that she has lived without love. Her heart hurts more for her children than for herself. Tyler will return from army in 7 months and will have to answer to his son for his father's actions. Tyler loves him, and his dad is the most important person to him, even more important than Mabel. She was only happy with that friendship and love between father and son. Everything, it's so complicated. Kevin disappeared, and Mabel doesn't even know where he lives now. All of this has to be resolved by her. Mabel, he is building his new personal life at the age, while she ended her personal life at the age. Plus, the children will move away. They will build their own families, and she will be alone. Mom, Uncle Luis came to see you, said Edna. He is sitting on the bench in the patio. Well, Why don't you come into the house? Mabel was surprised. To a man crying hello, Louis answered, wiping his tears, "How are we going to live, Mabel?" Mabel was silent. She was not prepared to listen and console Louis. "What have they done to us?" Louis continued, "Did you know that all the time they lived with us they did not love us?" And without waiting for an answer, he continued, "For example, I didn't know anything at all. For me, it was a real surprise." "I didn't know," Mabel responded. "I didn't know or suspect anything. I suspected that Pamela was cheating on me, but I didn't know who she was having fun with. I didn't want to destroy the family. We have a daughter together, and I also love that woman." "Louis, why talk about this? Wait a minute, you are willing to give Kevin so easily to another woman. We must fight, not give up. If we join together, maybe we can get them back. You and I are not as young anymore to start a new life." "Mabel, I'm not going to give it back to you. I'll endure all this misery, but I won't give it back." "You're proud." "Mabel has always been proud. Maybe that's why you, Kevin, notice me. Pamela, so light and simple. I don't want to give her up to another man." And Louis went back to cry. Mabel didn't know what else to say to him, so she said, "Louis, go home. You need to rest. I came here to discuss the problem with you, and you send me home. I want to tell you something else. Maybe you don't know it yet." And Louis started crying uncontrollably. Mabel was quite tired of him, and her drunken tears irritated her. She didn't know how to get rid of the persistent guest. "It turns out that my daughter Carol is not mine but Kevin's. That unfortunate woman confessed everything to me when she left for Mabel." Her legs gave out. She sat on the bench next to Louis. "But I won't give it to Carol," he shouted. "Louis is my daughter, period. Pamela told our girl who her real father is." Poor Carol hugged me and cried. "She said that I was her only father. She didn't go to live with those monsters. She stayed with me, thanks to God. Carol is already years old and has the right to decide where and with whom she wants to live." Mabel was in a state of shock at that news. It turns out that Kevin and Pamela were not only united in bed, but they also had a daughter in common. My God, how could I endure this? "Louis, you must give up alcohol or Carol will go with her mother." Think about how the girl feels at this moment. Her mother betrayed the family and left with another man, and on top of that, she discovered that you were not her father, and seeing you constantly drunk does not help. Absolutely, this will not end well. Carol, she is still in her teens. Everything that has fallen on her is too much for her. You have become a teacher. It is too late for you to give me lessons. Mabel, you know, why don't we start an adventure, you and I too? Let's show them to those unfortunates such. Maybe we like it, and we can have something together." Louis approached Mabel and hugged her. "You've gone crazy." Mabel pushed him away. "And here I was thinking, why had you dressed like a boyfriend? You just wanted to not be left behind your wife. Maybe they'll regret it and run back, afraid that you and I can be happy too." "What are you saying? Do you think I'm someone you can have an affair with?" "What a shame." Lois sighed, disappointed. "You have nothing special, Mabel. It could very well have been all of them there. And the two of us, enough is enough." Mabel got angry. "Go home and think about the nonsense you're saying. Never approach me with proposals again." "So you know where they live now?" asked Louis. "The first don't know, and I don't want to know," answered Mabel firmly. "At Pamela's apartment. Remember that, just in case you need the address, and maybe you aren't going to visit them." I smiled. Louis got up from the bench and left the patio. As he left the house, he turned around and said, "I wouldn't mind living with you, Mabel." "I'm against it," Mabel responded and closed the door. Behind him, "Mom, I heard everything," Tina said. "I was listening to her conversation with Uncle Louis. I know that at least it's ugly to do it, but when I was hanging out the clothes I heard that Dad lives with my godmother. That's when I decided to listen to everything to the end, and why hide it from us anyway? Sooner or later, Edna, Tyler, and I wouldn't know about everything, so it's better to know beforehand, so that it's not like you spent so many years living with Dad without knowing what was happening all that time with Pamela. Despite everything, he's still your father, just the way he is. There is no other. It's a shame that you can't change your father like you change your daughter's wife." "Why do you say that?" "I think so, Mom. It hurts Edna and me too, just like it hurts you." He left, and as if we didn't exist, he didn't even explain his departure to us. He just disappeared. It turns out that Carol is our sister. Dad made a lot of mistakes. I wrote down the address. We will go visit him with Edna. We will see how the newlyweds live, and we will listen to what Dad has to tell us. Tina, you and Edna are grown women. I hope they don't do stupid things. The biggest stupidity is ours. Such a daddy. Maybe Edna and I aren't wrong about him, and how Tyler will take this information about Dad's infidelity we'll find out later. Maybe Dad will drag him over to Tyler's side. Dad has always been and always will be first. Tina, if you go with Edna, let's see your father. Don't mention the nonsense that Uncle Lewis said. He made those indecent proposals out of desperation. Plus, he was drunk. What you think when you're sober? The drunk says it, Tina pointed out. Don't worry, Mom. We'll leave that topic aside. But no. I will stay silent about the fact that Carol is our sister. Let him know that we are aware of his deceptions. Let him give us answers for all of this. Kevin found it strange to see his beloved constantly. He felt like he was in paradise. His Pamela really became in hers, and from no one else he no longer had to hide his kisses and hugs like he used to do before. He could talk to her for hours without rushing like they usually did. Pamela was rushing to Lewis to her daughter, and they barely had time to talk. But in all that happiness there was a problem. Kevin missed his daughters. He felt guilty about them. He felt a duality of feelings. He wanted to see Edna and Mabel, but at the same time he was afraid of meeting them. He ran away from Mabel and did not think that the daughters and son were part of his wife Mabel, and that they would be on the side of his abandoned mother. And now the more he delayed the meeting with his girls, the more cowardly he felt before them. Carol was also his daughter and, in addition to his beloved wife, but Kevin did not feel any remorse for her. Why it was like that? Perhaps because Carol did not consider him her father and considered Lewis as her father. It seems that they are telling the truth when they say that the father is not the one who begets but the one who raises. There was a knock at the door. It was probably Carol, Pamela said excitedly, and he opened the front door. Hello? Edna and Tina said, almost in unison. Hello, Pamela responded, disconcerted, letting the girls enter the apartment. Is Dad home? Tina asked. Now is his house here? He is at home. Come in, girls. She happily received the children. Guests. Pamela, unnaturally, we were going to dinner. We thought it was Carol. Kevin came out into the hall and did not allow Pamela to continue her speech, so falsely cheerful that it sounded falsely from the outside. I'm home. Hello, my girls. Come in. The father rushed to hug his daughters. This is not necessary, Tina said sternly and pushed her father aside. Edna was standing silently. She didn't hug her dad, but she didn't reject him either. She didn't really know how to behave. We're here to put an end to this unfinished romance, smiled Tina, sitting on the sofa in the living room. Edna sat next to her sister and took her hand. Tina squeezed her sister's cold and trembling hand, as if to say, don't be afraid, I'm with you, I'm your sister, and I'm by your side. We miss you, Kevin said, and his eyes shone with glimmers of hope that his daughters would understand and forgive him. How nice, Tina responded. We suspected that our daddy was missing us, so we decided to come visit him. Dad himself forgot the way to his daughters. You ran happily to your lover. Forgetting your children, you forgot that you also had to inform them that lovers can be more important than the wife and children. Well, we are not proud. We came to congratulate Daddy and my godmother. Our sister Carol will come. It would be great to meet here as a big and happy family. Such may be, Dad. You have another son hiding in some corner. I wouldn't be surprised if that fact is discovered. Shut up, the father said sternly. They came to Pamela's house and are insulting her. If your mother heard something like that, she would be shocked. We wouldn't have come here. If your dad had been able to explain your action to us at home, we would have discussed everything as a family and we would have put the final point there. That would have been a guarantee that we would not come here for sure. But you didn't think with your head. You thought with another part of your body, Dad. So listen to us and let your beloved listen to us too. Edna was crying and wouldn't let go of her sister's hand. It's not necessary, Edna whispered in a low voice. Tina, let's go home. It's not necessary. Say thank you to Edna for leaving so soon and I wish you a happy life. And awful, Tina said angrily. I'm getting married, Daddy. So I don't want you to be near me with your congratulations. Don't ruin my celebration. We want you to completely forget about our existence. Live with your lover and have sacral. If she recognizes you as her father. I hate you. Tina stood up abruptly and led Edna towards the exit. Edna called the father. You hate me too. There was hope in his eyes. Come on, Edna pulled her sister's arm. Tina, wait, said Kevin, and blocked the daughter's path. Let Edna answer for yes. Edna herself looked at her father with pain and condemnation. She didn't want to answer any questions. It hurt her, and she just wanted to go home. Well, answer and we'll go home. We don't have the strength to see you anymore. Tina said, Dad, I love you, but it hurts even more. Edna answered, I'd rather hate you. They left, and he listened to Pamela's reproaches. This is how teachers teach. Look at what kind of children we entrust to our teachers. If teachers have children, what can be said about how they educate their students? Pamela, don't make the situation worse. I'm sorry. It hurts a lot, said Kevin. They argued for the first time since they knew each other. They had a fight and that affected Kevin. He suddenly felt like a guest in that place, and he didn't know how to behave at home with Mabel when they argued. Kevin went to the yard and did something. There is always work in a private house, and he found it when he returned home. He went to wash. Mabel would set the table, and the whole family would sit down to dinner. Everything would soften somehow as if they had never fought. Mabel was not prone to grudges, but in this apartment it was a closed space. Pamela had been offended. Kevin kissed her and hugged her, but she rejected him. A week after her daughter's visit, Kevin showed up. At his old family, no one expected him or received him like before. Tina simply welcomed him. He looked and went to his room. Mabel responded to the greeting, and without paying attention, he continued preparing dinner. Only Edna hugged her father and asked, "Dad, why did you come? If you need anything, I have put all your things and instruments in one place. Come, I will show you. It is not necessary," said Kevin, sitting on a chair, and turned to Mabel. "Mabel, I brought you money. You don't need to apply for child support while the girls are studying. I will continue to bring money." Mabel was silent. For her, it was even better not to have to go to court and beg for money, even if it was legal. Kevin put the money on the edge of the table and said, "Tina told me she plans to get married. I will also give money for the wedding. Although Tina forbade me from attending the ceremony, she doesn't want to see me, but she is still my daughter." This is how it turns out, Kevin. It's time to hunt the girls, and their father is getting married. What a shame. I don't know. How will I be able to look at the groom's parents when they ask about Tina's father? The mother said angrily. "No one will ask you about him, Mom," Tina said. When he left his room, he warned everyone that Dad abandoned us. So there won't be any awkward questions. Kevin would have liked to sit at the table with his daughters, Isabel, like before, have dinner and talk about his family matters. He didn't think he would miss those simple routines of the house. Everyday life, however. "I missed him and delayed his departure." Mabel, "Tyler knows about me and asked Kevin no. When he gets back from the army, he will find out. Don't you dare give him this happy news." Mabel answered no. Of course, he said that Kevin wanted to ask them not to tell him. For now, Kevin no longer. He had nothing more to say. He needed to get up and leave, but he was still sitting and he couldn't find the strength to leave. He had nowhere to go. Pamela had been angry for a week. She hadn't spoken to him or tried to reconcile. He wasn't used to that. He had been feeling like an idiot for a week. "Strange. Will you join us for dinner?" Mabel offered as she placed the plates on the table. "I'd like to eat with you," Kevin answered. He craved delicious home-cooked food. Pamela hadn't cooked anything during the week of her anger, and he would find something in the refrigerator like a thief and eat. Alone at the table, he ate so attentively that a bite would get stuck in his throat. Mabel could see that things were not going well between Kevin and Pamela. Otherwise, he wouldn't be sitting there, but would run towards his lover, but she wouldn't let him know. He would ask about that. Neither education nor pride would allow him, but he felt sorry for Kevin. That's how women are. We feel sorry for each other. Mabel thought, they don't feel sorry for us. They run wherever their eyes take them, following the call of their flesh without thinking about their wives or their children. And I don't pity them, but I feel sorry for him after so many years living together with 3 adult children. You can't erase all that. Even Tina sat down at the table and stopped humiliating her father. They ate as a family. They discussed the plans for Tina's upcoming wedding. Tina surprisingly responded to her father without sarcasm or aggression. The dinner was over, and Kevin turned to Mabel. "Mabel, if there is anything I need to do at home, let me know. I will come, and I will do it." And suddenly Mabel, without expecting it, said, "Why come, Kevin? Don't leave. Stay and do it." That simple. She said it, and that's it. Her heart was beating strongly. It seemed that everyone at the table was listening to her heartbeat. Mabel was afraid of hearing a rejection from Kevin, but who would judge her for asking her own husband to leave? This was her family, and she herself would decide whether to forgive Kevin or not. Kevin thought he had heard. The daughters looked at each other. Tina raised her eyebrows in surprise at her mother, and Edna ran towards her father, hugged him, and said in a low but audible voice for everyone, "Stay, Dad. Don't leave. Soon Tyler will return from the army, and we will be together like before." He stayed with them, and why would he go with Pamela? All his conscious life, he had longed to be with Pamela. Maybe it was necessary to put an end to that relationship once and for all, to understand that her family was her children. Isabel, the modest mathematics teacher, and not the striking and eternally dissatisfied Pamela. Her mother was right when she said that women like Mabel were unique. One in a million. Mabel, although apparently she should be happy about Kevin's return to the family, she does not feel joy. Although it seems that Mabel has forgiven Kevin, she cannot forget the betrayal. Mabel's persistent memory returns her to the days of humiliation and affront, reminding her that Kevin never loved her, so now it turns out that I love her since he returned. Or is it that life with Pamela did not turn out as he expected? Mabel asked him to stay, and he stayed, but where is the certainty that he will not resume his relationship with Pamela, and if she calls him, and he runs to her again? Mabel's trust in Kevin has disappeared. How can she trust someone who has betrayed her their entire life together? Mabel has the feeling that everyone is arguing and judging her for having forgiven him. Kevin, but what does it matter to all of them? It's her life, and that of her family. When curious people interfered in her family affairs and asked about Kevin's return, she understood that it was not sympathy but simple human curiosity, which is why he said that he did not want to discuss his love affairs. That's why they considered her proud. Women generally complain about their husbands. They tell everything, but she didn't want to discuss anything. That's why Kevin walked away from her, who can stand so much pride for so many years. Rumors reached Mabel's ears, but she tried not to react to them. It was offensive, but you can't hide it from people, and it was also fortunate that she had to prepare for Tina's wedding, which distracted Mabel from the rumors and the current situation. Relationship with Kevin. It cannot be said about Kevin that he felt guilty since he behaved like he did before leaving with Pamela. He is no stranger to Mabel. He thought he was with her all his life, and he never felt guilty. Nothing has changed in his life. Everything has changed in mine, and I must learn to live with that. Only someone tell me how to do it. Intimate relationships with Kevin didn't make Mabel happy, either. When she didn't know he had a lover, intimacy with Kevin was a joy, a confirmation of her love. Now knowing that there never was love, and that it was hardly will appear suddenly, she did not want to be intimate with her husband. She would look for different excuses to avoid it, but when it happened, Mabel did not experience joy. On the contrary, she felt repulsion towards Kevin's body. After sex, she stayed a lot time in the shower wanting to wash, and every touch from Kevin, the smell of his body. She asked herself the question, because I called him back to the family, and she answered herself, I did it for the children, for the family, so that my grandchildren would have a grandfather. The preparations for the wedding were in full swing. Kevin was tidying up the yard and the garage. The daughters and his wife were doing general cleaning in the house. Someone knocked loudly and persistently on the window. Dad shouted, Edna. They knocked on the window. Look who's come. Kevin went outside and saw Pamela. Hello, Kevin. Why did you leave? Do you think you can treat me like that? He smiled. Pamela, I thought you were healing for me with some friend. I have looked for you in hospitals, morgues, and it turns out that you are hiding here. Why haven't you taken the annoyance to inform me that you were returning to your teacher? We are strangers to each other. Pamela responded, Kevin, I have returned to my family for so many years. We were not strangers, and we have a daughter in common, and now suddenly, we are strangers. Something doesn't add up in what you say, Kevin, or you have forgotten our passionate nights, and now you are going to live with your teacher. I no longer need passionate nights, answered Kevin. I am not at the age to abandon my family because of all that we tried, but it didn't work. I won't be able to live with you, Pamela. You have a personality not suitable for family life. Then we will continue to see each other in secret. For so many years we have hidden each other, so come back. We have only quarreled a little. It seems that you and your Mabel never fight in the family. Anything can happen. You cannot live as a guest in it. Exactly, in a family, but you and I are not a family, and we will no longer see each other in secret. That is enough. Our time has passed. Pamela, well, whatever you want. Pamela did not have time to finish. Edna ran out into the street and said, Daddy, who has come to see Pamela? Edna was taken aback. She took her father's hand and said, let's go home, Dad. I'll talk right now, and then I'll go. I had Edna. They're holding your hands. They're afraid you'll go with me, Pamela said mockingly to Edna. They love me, and I love them. And you love your teacher, he scoffed. Pamela, don't fool yourself. Come back to me before it's too late. I won't come back, period. Or you'll get tired of the scheduled sex with your wife. Then you'll run to look for me. You'll beg for my affection. Only then I'll think if I need you. Or you don't know I'm a passionate woman. I can't do without male affection. And there will be others in your place. Go back to Louis. Oh, I forgot to ask you where. And who should I go back to? What should I do with Louis? Means that you won't come back, and that's your last word. No, I won't come back. You'll come get your things. Yes, I will collect my things. Well, we have talked about everything. Kevin was no longer listening to what Pamela was saying to him from behind. He hid behind the door and almost ran home. His throat was dry from the unpleasant conversation with Pamela. He ran into the kitchen to drink water. Pamela has came, she said to Mabel standing by the stove. She was worried about where I was and what was wrong. She asked me if I was going to go get my things or not. Mabel remained silent. Why are you silent, Mabel? I heard you, Kevin, and what am I supposed to? I must tell you about it. She invited me, but I told her that I would not go with her. My family is more important to me. Well, Mabel answered. Well, Kevin shouted. You could tell he was nervous. It's good that you understood. Call the girls. Let's go to dinner. Mabel didn't want to talk about Pamela. I didn't want to know what Kevin and her said to each other. I hope she doesn't come back here was the only thing Mabel said. We've had enough of her visits and the neighbors' gossip. She won't be back tomorrow. I'll pick up my things and that'll be it. Pamela, smiling in a red dress, opened the door for Kevin. Hello. I've come to get my things, said Kevin. Well, come in. Hello, answered Pamela. Pick up your things yourself. I haven't picked them up. I thought maybe you would change your mind and come back with me. Kevin silently entered the room. He opened the closet and began to take out his things and throw them on the couch. Pamela came up behind him and hugged him. She felt his firm chest resting on her back. The smell of her perfume and her body attracted Kevin. He tried to push her away, resist the temptation, and keep the promise. What he did to his wife, but he couldn't when he saw her seductive, unreal eyes, her full and juicy lips, and the throbbing blue vein on her neck that indicated how hot Pamela's blood was at that moment. Kevin couldn't resist. He kissed that vein that was so hot. His neck excited him, his eager lips, and he forgot everything else. It was always like that with Pamela. As soon as he touched her body, he forgot everything else. You are a witch, he said that when they finished their intimate encounter. When will I get rid of you, which we are destined to being together? Kevin, you still haven't understood it. He smiled, satisfied. Pamela, I don't want to tie my life with you. I understand that we won't function as a family, but when I see you and feel the smell of your body, the world around me collapses. I can't control my thoughts or my body. You are like an incurable disease that I am trying to cure myself of, but without success you will ruin my life. Pamela, stay away from me. Stay away from me. Maybe then I can heal from you. Pamela laughed out loud at Kevin's request and said, I will not cross on your way. I promise I won't do it. You'll come running to me on your own. Maybe he's putting me under a spell. Kevin, that's a joke. It's ridiculous. Why do I need to bewitch men? I don't lack suitors. The table was set, and everyone in the house was waiting for them. Guests. Mabel was nervous. It was an important event in her family. Don't worry. Mabel calmed her down. Kevin hugged her and whispered in her ear, I'm with you. We're together. Calm down. Everything will be fine. Mabel really felt her husband's support at that moment. She didn't regret having him. Given a second chance, Kevin felt her husband's strong shoulder on which she could lean. But that day when he brought her things, Mabel felt that something was not right. It was not like usual. It seemed to her that he was avoiding her gaze. He did not want to meet her. His eyes, maybe he didn't keep his word, and he was intimate again with Pamela. Before, Mabel didn't pay much attention to her husband. She trusted him, but now it seemed suspicious that Kevin didn't want to have dinner, and when they went to sleep, Mabel heard him thrashing about side to side, unable to fall asleep. This is maddening, thought Mabel. I must let the situation go, let everything flow as it should flow. Mabel, she worried in vain. Roberto's parents turned out to be people as simple as them and Kevin. My name is Gordon, introduced himself. Father, and this is my sister and my dear mother. They all met. They bowed and sat down at the table to discuss how and where to celebrate the wedding, how many guests to invite, and how much budget they would need. They toasted the meeting for the love of the young people, and Kevin proposed, let the young people go. Why should they listen to all this? Is our business as parents. Everyone agreed. Tina and Edna went for a walk. And why didn't your wife come? Asked Kevin. Mabel nudged him with his knee under her the table, making her understand that if someone doesn't mention something, it's not worth asking those types of questions. She knew that Roberto's mother died 2 years ago. Mabel forgot to warn Kevin about that. Roberto's mother died. Gordon said otherwise. She knows he would have been happy for his son to marry a good girl from an honorable family. Sorry, I didn't know. Kevin apologized. Never mind. I should have mentioned it from the beginning. I thought they already knew. Gordon's mother got tired and went home. Anyway, they had already discussed everything important, and if something escaped them, they decided to talk about it. During the wedding preparations, the men continued celebrating their meeting. Their conversations, they became purely masculine. They talked about how many cars and what kind of cars they would order, and even they mentioned buses. Mabel was silent. So as not to interrupt the men's conversation, she collected the unnecessary dishes from the table and washed them. She made tea and brought it to the table. Would they like to have you? Asked the hostess. Would she gladly take it? Replied Gordon. Mabel noticed that Kevin had drunk quite a bit, and that I was no longer interested in the tea. Mabel, I'm drunk. Excuse me, Gordon, we're a little nervous. I think I'll go to bed for a while. Have the tea without me, said Kevin. Everything's fine, Kevin, said Gordon, and if you need anything, we'll be in touch. I will leave our number. Okay, answered Kevin, and Mabel will give our phone number. Excuse me for not accompanying you, fat man. Mabel will accompany you. Who am I to accompany me? Smiled Gordon. Go rest, Mabel. And Gordon drank tea and talked about the children, the upcoming events, and where the kids were assigned after college. It seemed like they had discussed everything. They drank several cups of tea, and Mabel walked Gordon out. Roberto warned me not to ask about Tina's father, she said suddenly. Gordon, his son, said that he left with another woman, or Kevin is not Tina's father. Mabel didn't feel like talking about it. I'm sorry. Sorry for the wrong question. Gordon tried to correct himself. It's okay, Mabel said. Now that we're family, there are no secrets. Kevin is the father of my 3 children. Did leave us, and I asked him to come back, and here he is. He has returned. My daughters are not married yet. I wanted their father to be present at that important event. Have you forgiven him? Gordon asked. Mabel had not told anyone. Nothing. But now she opened her heart completely. I don't know how to forgive means to forget everything, and I can't forget. Maybe not enough time has passed. They say that time heals everything, and Mabel talked about how Kevin had been unfaithful to her with Pamela throughout their entire life together, and I had gone with her. Maybe time did cure, Gordon said, but memory is stronger than time. You can't erase what has already happened. I think you're right. You're back with Kevin because of the children. Sorry, of course. I see that you're a worthy woman. They don't stay away from people. Like you, people distance themselves from all types of people. I'm no exception. Mabel looked at Gordon in such a way that without words he understood that this conversation was causing him pain. Sorry for intruding on your personal life, Mabel. I think it's time for me to go. You know, they say that when you vent to someone else, everything becomes easier. I never told anyone. I kept everything to myself. There was no one around with whom I could share my feelings and experiences. Telling anyone can lead to gossip, but here I am telling you. You and I don't know why. Maybe I do it to ease my soul, or maybe to listen to advice from the outside. It looks better. And you are a man, you are not going to gossip. It is true, I will not. But let me tell you secretly, Mabel, that men too, they are big gossipers. Mabel smiled sadly. Then you went back to Kevin for the children? Gordon asked. Yes, for the children. Our son. He is still in the army. He will return, and his father will be there to receive him. Maybe that is wrong. Later our children will have children, our grandchildren, with Kevin and I have saved still. Grandfather for them. Of course it is good that the father receives his son, and what happens to your son? He will not have questions for his father about it. Tyler does not know that Kevin left us. He will know. They will tell him I listen to you, Mabel. And I think you have thought about all your daughters, your son, even in future grandchildren. But have you thought about yourself? Mabel and I will endure. We have 3 children with Kevin. For them I will endure. I don't understand you. It means that you are simply putting up with your husband right now. You are pretending. I am putting up with, said Mabel sincerely. I'm pretending, trying to restore everything as it was before, but before the tea he was unfaithful with Pamela. Are you trying to restore that? Mabel was thoughtful. Sincerely, I regret asking him to come back, because all the time I think that he's still seeing Pamela. He's still unfaithful to her. If it's been so many years with her, and suddenly he left her, it's hard to believe that. I think he came back to us because he got used to the life he had. With me here is his wife, his children who love him. The comfort that I give him here, he feels like he owns everything, but they're with Pamela. Who is he? I don't know, so he shouldn't be with her too. If he came back, it's one thing to share the bed and another thing to share all the problems and joys. That's what I doubt. And I think he came back here to stay, but he keeps going there to satisfy his secret desires. You think like that, but you're not sure. Maybe Kevin has understood that the real thing is you and your children. That happens too. So Mabel, don't despair. Be patient. Life will put everything in its place, and I'm happy that my son has a wonderful mother-in-law like you. Thank you for everything, Mabel. Thank you for listening to me, give me advice, and make me reflect. But where am I in this whole nightmare? Where are my desires, my feelings? Or have I lost myself? I have deluded myself. Everything is so complicated. Goodbye, fat man. Goodbye, Mabel. 2 weeks after the wedding, Roberto and Tina left. Mabel and Edna couldn't hold back their tears. Gordon also found it difficult to say goodbye to Roberto. And why didn't your sister come? Mabel asked Gordon. Is at work. She came to saying goodbye to Roberto and Tina last night. Gordo didn't ask about Kevin. Mabel mentioned it herself. Kevin is on a business trip. He left before yesterday and won't be back until the end of the week. Well, it's just that Mabel told him and he didn't Advance didn't betray Kevin. He didn't say that when he was on his way here to the station, he saw him behind the wheel, so Kevin didn't go anywhere. It means he's still cheating on Mabel, but as much as Gordon felt sorry for this wonderful woman, he considered that not. He had the right to interfere in the relationship of another family. He considers Mabel to be an intelligent woman, and he is sure that she knows what she is doing. The train, gaining speed, was moving away, taking with it a piece of Mabel's soul. Tina had separated from the family. It's one thing to hunt down a daughter, but to live in the same city and have the opportunity to see her, and it's another thing when her little daughter will live in another city, and there will be no one to give her advice and help her. Take care of Tina, Mabel whispered in Roberto's ear. I beg you. Roberto does not hurt. Everything will be fine, Roberto promised. Don't worry. Edna ran towards the institute while Gordon and Mabel walked together, bewildered and excited. Separating from children is difficult. The autumn sun was no longer so high, but its warm softness did not leave the earth. The sad smell of the autumn, the departure of the young people, all of this stirred Mabel's soul, and she began to cry. Mabel, what's wrong? Don't cry after everything. Everything is fine. Gordon tried to calm her down. Roberto and Tina are very happy, so we have no reason to be sad. I know it's just nerves. So many things have happened in recent times, good and bad. You have more classes today, Gordon asked. No, today. I'm free. I also took the day off. Let's go to the park, Mabel. What are you going to do at home alone? Now let's go up from the station. In about 10 minutes we will arrive at the park, and we will walk. We will sit in a cafe. We will drink tea or coffee. Gordon smiles. It's been a long time since you've been to the park. I don't remember the last time I was there, I'm sure. A lot of things have changed. I don't even know I remember when I was there. There for the last time. Let's go together. They were sitting on the terrace of a summer cafe, eating delicious pastries. Gordon observed Mabel's intelligent eyes reddened by tears, her lips that bit nervously, her hands that trembled slightly. In every movement of this woman could be read his nervousness. He liked this woman. He felt sorry for her. He wanted to hug her, reassure her, and make her understand that she was worthy of love and attention. She was worthy of everything she had never had. He could have given her all that, but he didn't know. Dared to cross that line that was between them. Mabel arrived home at dusk. Edna returned from her studies shortly afterward. It always seems to Mabel that young people do not walk, but run. Perhaps she was like that too at some point, moving, running, or jumping when Mabel was not. She is alone at home. She doesn't feel so lonely. Soon Tyler will return from duty, and new worries, new experiences will begin. Mabel understood that things were not going well with Kevin. They simply lived together as neighbors. Their closeness has been reduced to almost nothing, and for Mabel, that closeness is a burden, and Ella understands that Kevin satisfies his sexual needs elsewhere, probably with Pamela. All of this hurts, but the pain is no longer as acute as when Kevin announced that he had never loved her. The pain has dulled and can be endured and live with him. Of course, there are moments when Mabel clearly sees that Kevin is blatantly lying to her, but she remembers that she is living with him for the sake of the children and calms down with that. Why are you crying again, Mabel? Kevin saw the letter printed on the table and also worried something has happened. Here is a letter from Tyler. Sob Mabel. Our Tyler married a woman who has a son, will not return to us. That's it. And Tyler has separated from us. Edna is going to marry his military, and he will finish his training next year, and our Edna will leave with her husband. We will be left alone, you and I, Kevin. And why are you crying? What did you expect? We raised the children not for ourselves. Each one has his own life. I understand it. I thought someone would be near of us grandchildren. Mabel interrupted her speech and was horrified at the idea that she would soon be alone with Kevin, or more precisely alone. She called him for the sake of the children, but the children now have their own life, just like Kevin, and she, Mabel, is alone again. He cried even harder. Cry, said Kevin. This is not the first time you shed tears. All this is exhausting. He gestured with his hand towards his wife and went out to the patio. The man came out and disappeared until the afternoon of the next day. Kevin, I look like a fool, he asked Mabel. Why are you saying that? Kevin was surprised. And yes, I am a fool. That is why I try to forgive you and live with you. I see that your affair with Pamela continues. You continue living with her under the pretext of business trips, and yesterday you disappeared so suddenly. And what do you want me to do with you? Look how you cry, except with Pamela. But I don't abandon my family. What more do you want in terms of intimacy? You are not exceptional, and I am a man. I need caresses. Mabel listened to this insolent speech from her husband and was surprised at how she had fallen to such humiliation, how she allowed herself to be treated like this. All this vileness happens with her tacit consent. Kevin, go with your Pamela. Go away forever. My patience is over. I don't want to put up with it. I don't want to see you. Nothing unites us, except the children. The children have grown up. They have their own life. I have no reason to tolerate your actions. I will even pack your things. Just leave. And how are we going to divide the house? Asked Kevin. Well, this is my parents' house. I am going to file for divorce. According to the law, I get half of the house. Yes, according to the law, but what about conscience? I have also invested in it, Kevin. In the end, the house will belong to our children. Be a man, okay? I will sign my share to Tyler, and I will do it if he treats me as befits a son. Are you planning to blackmail our son with the house? This is a divorce. It's a divorce. Enough of the arguments. Merry Christmas, Mabel. Listen, Mabel on the phone. Receive my congratulations and good wishes. I wish you all the best. Also send my regards to Kevin. Thank you, Gordon, said Mabel sadly. Kevin is not there. There is no one to convey greetings to. He left with Pamela. We are getting divorced. Edna, she went to celebrate Christmas with her fiancé. It will be the first time she will be alone. I am also alone. Listen, Mabel, why don't we celebrate the holiday together? Everyone is here with someone, and we who are worse than the others. See, Gordon, I have everything prepared out of habit, but I have no one to offer it to. I'm going to go. In Gordon's mind it resonated. I love you, Mabel, but it was not the time to explain it on the phone today. On this night of Christmas will definitely tell Mabel about his feelings and convince her that her life is her life, and she doesn't belong to anyone else. On Christmas night, no one should be alone. She is a unique woman, and he is willing to show her that. For the rest of course, their life will be difficult for them. Many will not understand them, but in the end, it is their life, and together they will be able to face it and live happily for a long time. And if they are lucky, they will die on the same day, because if Mabel no longer wants to live, Mabel loved it when at Christmas the earth was covered with a soft blanket of snow. It seemed to her that nature had marked a cycle known only to her, and the new year began with a blank page, leaving behind everything bad and only expecting good things. Today, Mabel did not think like that today. She was sure that the good things were left behind in the memories, and at that moment, I felt a chill, not because of the cold in the house, but because of the loneliness. For the first time tonight, Mabel was alone, completely alone there. Used to be a big family, but now the sounds of music and fireworks came from somewhere while there was silence in her house. Even she didn't feel like turning on the television. Tina and Edna used to play the music at full volume, and Mabel would get indignant and ask them to turn the volume down to less. A little. Kevin laughed and said, let his music scream. Mabel, after all, it's a celebration. Remember when we were young, we also wanted to listen to our favorite songs at full volume. Tyler asked his father for money to buy firecrackers before the holiday, and then the December one spent the whole day setting them off in the yard. The phone rang constantly. Congratulations for Christmas arrived. Mabel was cooking, and the aromas spread throughout the house, making everyone go to the kitchen and try to take something delicious. Kevin went out to shovel the snow. He came back blushing, smiling. He hugged Mabel from behind while she was busy with the stove, and a cold and something painfully familiar smell emanated from it. Happiness. That was happiness, and now loneliness. Mabel looked out the window at the white blanket of snow. It no longer seemed like a blank page from which the good things began. She didn't even realize immediately that the phone was ringing. She woke up and went asleep. She hurried to answer the call. In her mind, it passed quickly. It must be Tina and Roberto or Tyler. Happy holiday. Mabel heard Gordon's voice. Mabel had to tell Gordon about her divorce with Kevin and how lonely she felt. This was especially during the festivities. Workdays immerse you in routine, but on holidays each person is surrounded by their loved ones. While Mabel had no one around, I love enjoying the food, said Gordon, and proposed to Mabel to celebrate the new year together, and she was happy with this person. She always felt good, and what seemed insoluble and desperate turned out to be simple. Gordon told Mabel, everything is very simple. The difficult thing is to decide on this simple solution, and when you decide, only then do you realize how much energy. Those words from Gordon have been wasted in vain. They made Mabel look with clarity at her relationship with Kevin, and she decided on a divorce. When he arrives, I will thank him, Mabel thought. Thank you for giving me back my self-esteem, for supporting me, Mabel. Hello again. Gordon gave her roses, pastel champagne, and a bag with something inside. Mabel took out of the bag some shiny knitted gloves and socks. What a beauty, she exclaimed. I will definitely thank your mother with a gift in reciprocity. My mother made an effort. A lot to finish them in time for today, said Gordon. My mother respects you a lot, Mabel. The man pronounced her name with a special affection. Mabel was happy both with the gift and with the roses in which the snowflakes melted. Thank you. Let's go to the table. You have done a wish, Mabel joked. I did it, Gordon laughed. Just try not to come true, he joked. I'm so persistent that I'll make it come true, and I haven't made a wish yet. I don't know what to ask For I'm confused, Mabel. I'll tell you your wish. Ask. To marry me because I've wanted to get married. With you, Mabel barely had time to sit down at the table. She stood in front of Gordon, stunned and speechless. By such a turn of events, Gordon opened the champagne, the cork flew, and the clock chimed. Merry Christmas, my love. Now that you are divorced, I have right to tell you that I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life only with you. Mabel took a sip of the champagne from her glass, but still remained silent. No one had ever told her that he loved her. Gordon's words made her tickling in the throat and tingling in the nose. The tears were gathering in her eyes, ready to spill. Gordon approached Mabel. He hugged her, and without giving the tears a chance, he began to kiss her eyes, her lips. Then he pressed her tightly against him and said, "Don't you? I will give to no one else, and I will not allow a single tear to fall from your eyes, my love." Love is the most important word for a woman, and for Mabel even more important, since for a long time she was not loved. It is not known how long they would have continued hugging, but the phone began to ring. "Merry Christmas," he heard Tina's voice. "I wish you health, Mom. I love you. Merry Christmas," Roberto shouted on the other end of the phone. Apparently, Roberto snatched the phone from Tina, and after wishing his mother-in-law, he asked, "Excuse me, do you know how my relatives are? I'll call to Dad over and over again, but he doesn't answer the phone. I'm worried. Your dad is here. We celebrate together." "I'll give you the phone," Mabel said. "Dad, how did you end up at Mom's house?" "Tina, I came to see Mabel because I wanted to spend Christmas just with her as it is." That's what Gordon heard Roberto's surprised voice. "That's right," the father responded. "Dad, that's what I'm thinking now." "I don't know what you're thinking about there." The father said, "Then that Mabel and you are together." "I'm sure we'll be together because today I plan to ask Mabel to marry him. Of course, my hand is not so strong anymore, and my heart sometimes it fails. It makes mischief, but I love Mabel, and I will not leave her." "Dad, this is a little strange. You know what, dear son? Don't give me lessons. Your arguments don't interest Mabel and me. Live your life. Continue, and we will live ours, and if you dare to disturb Mabel's nerves for this, you will have to deal with me." "Well, Dad, why do you immediately get defensive?" said Roberto. "He was just saying we don't need you to say anything to Mabel and I. Let's go on against everything and everyone, and we plan to be happy at least for now," said Gordon, and hung up the phone. Mabel looked at Gordon and smiled. "Yes, that's who I am," laughed Gordon. "I won't let anyone hurt you." Mabel sat on the couch, clutching her stomach, and he started laughing. "Why are you laughing?" Mabel sat next to her. Gordon and also started laughing. "Why are you laughing?" Finally, Mabel calmed down, and looking into Gordon's eyes, she said, "Only now I realize how much I love you. My God, how I love you." The door of the entrance slammed shut. Mabel wasn't expecting anyone. Gordon would be home from work in 2 hours. Edna would go to the movies with her friends after her last class. Who could it be? Mabel stuck her head out of the window. Kevin was walking along the path cleared of snow, and at the see Mabel in the window. He smiled at her and waved at her. Mabel didn't make any gesture of greeting. She moved away from the window and sat down in a chair that she wanted. He thought her heart was beating anxiously, and she had a bad headache. She tried to calm down and not get nervous, but she didn't. She got it. It had been less than a month since her divorce. It seemed like everything was resolved and he had taken all her things. Why was she here? "Hi, Mabel." Her ex-husband greeted her as if nothing had happened, as if he still lived here and had stopped by for lunch. "He was passing by here, and I wanted to go see our daughter. I should know called first." "Don't start. We are not strangers. We can see each other without a call. We are strangers, Kevin. We have children in common." He approached Mabel, who was sitting in the chair, and crouched down in front of her. "Or have you forgotten that?" He tried to hug his knees, but Mabel, looking at him, whispered, "Removes his hands." Apparently Kevin wasn't expecting it. He turned away from Mabel and looked at her out of the corner of his eye, saying, "Don't be angry, Mabel. It's just out of habit. I can't imagine that you're no longer my wife. Could you at least give me something to eat for old time's sake? This is a dining room here. Go eat where you live. Or do you think that for old time's sake you will come here whenever you feel like it? You won't do it here. No, you are welcome. Don't get in the way of my life. Contact our daughter and meet in a neutral place." "What's wrong, Mabel? Why are you so angry?" "I came here in a good way. I thought you would feed me. We would talk. We have already talked about everything. Everything has been discussed a long time ago, so I don't understand your actions. Either you say why you came or leave from my house." She looked at Kevin's tired, unshaven face, the worn sweater he was wearing. She didn't feel compassion towards him like she did when she asked him to stay today. He was a stranger to her, someone who broke into her house without understanding what she wanted. "Mabel, forgive me," she began. Kevin, I'm not happy with everything that's happened, but you know I'm glad you continued your romance with Pamela. I'm glad we broke up. You can't imagine how I feel without you. And about forgiveness, Yati. I forgave once, but you probably didn't appreciate it. You thought it was enough to stay in the family, and that you could continue seeing Pamela whenever you wanted and I would just close my eyes to it. You spent so many years living with me, and you didn't know me, you didn't even try. You were happy with me, the routine with me, but looking for love elsewhere now. You don't need to run after her, live with her. Why do you need me? Sorry, Mabel, I feel bad without you. Without Edna, I feel bad, and that's why I have to forgive you. Let's start again. You'll see how I will be. You won't regret it. We've already started again. I forgave you once and I regretted it. I won't repeat that mistake. I called Tyler. I asked him to help me get back to you. He promised to come. It's in vain. I'm glad Tyler came, but not even he will make me come back to you. Soon I will get married. You want to scare me with that? Kevin mocked Mabel. That is simply ridiculous. With whom? Kevin was already laughing with the redhead. You have made me laugh. I will marry a man who loves me and whom I love, Mabel. Not even. It's funny. There are so many young and beautiful around you, and suddenly they love you. You made up this fairy tale. You know what? I'll tell you, you're not stupid, and while I offer to get back together and live together again, you should accept. I won't ask you twice. Get out of here, Mabel said in a low voice. Get out of my house, out of my life. That's how daring. I like you more. Kevin approached Mabel and hugged her. Mabel tried to push him away, but she didn't have the strength. Mabel pushed him. She scratched him, but he pressed harder against her. I'm kidding. Kevin, you're like a wild cat. You're turning me on. Get away from her, Kevin heard. Behind him, with all the noise and commotion with Mabel, he didn't hear Gordon come into the house. Don't get involved in the couple's relationship. Even if they're not married anymore, Kevin said calmly and continued hugging her. Gordon grabbed Kevin and pulled him away from Mabel. If I see you here again, don't take this the wrong way. Don't go near Mabel. You've lost this woman. It would be better if you forgot her. And who are you really? I'm her husband, she answered. What a comedy, Kevin mocked. Who? It doesn't matter. Mabel was crying. It hurt her to hear all that. Oh, you bastard. Don't you understand the words? You only understand the fists and the strength. The fat man grabbed him and dragged him towards the exit. Put on your jacket, Mabel shouted after them. It doesn't matter. Bring your jacket and shoes. Here, responded Gordon. Gordon dragged Kevin naked and barefoot through the snow and threw him and his belongings out the door. Next time, you won't get out of here alive, said Gordon, and closed the door. Kevin was getting dressed right in the doorway. Entrance of his ex-wife's house. The neighbor came out to clean the snow. She saw Kevin half naked and raised his hands in surprise. Oh, why did he throw you out of the house without clothes? You're going to catch a cold. Your male parts? You won't be able to go back to Mabel. He's getting married. Kevin looked angrily at the neighbor. Now Grandma will tell the whole street how Gordon threw him half naked out onto the street. Now he doesn't have to come back here. Everyone will know about this incident. It's a shame, of course. Having lost Mabel, he never thought Kevin someone he would compete for that woman. What is so special about her? Not like Pamela. Kevin wanted to escape from her always inflated lips, from the empty pots that Kevin hit with when he came home from work, from his insistent sex that he could no longer stand. So he ran towards Mabel, but his place was already occupied by another man. Pamela, smiling, opened the door for Kevin. Hello. You were late today. It was obvious that Pamela was in a good mood. I heated up the macaroni and they were already cold. I was waiting for you. Where were you? Kevin was walking. He was angry with himself, with Mabel, with Gordon, and with Pamela, but he took out his anger on Pamela at that moment where he could most be at work. And why are you so angry today? Pamela hugged him. We can improve your mood. And we only need you, me, and the bed. You only think about sex. I'm tired. I want to eat, and all you want is to eat. Go and eat. I have no intention of heating the macaroni. Sometimes heat them yourself. Pamela got angry. And why are you all what? I fell. I slipped. There is ice on the street. Is winter. If you haven't noticed, give me clean socks. Well, maybe you should take a shower first. I want to eat, then I'll wash. My feet are wet, answered Kevin. And why do your shoes have holes? They don't have holes, so why are your feet wet outside? I've noticed it's cold, freezing. My lover's husband caught me. I had to run through the snow in my socks. You have stupid jokes. You used to like me before you were different. Now I can't expect either caresses or kind words from you. What happened to us? We wanted to be together. Our dreams came true, but something wasn't working. Kevin put on his clean socks and barely listened to what she was saying. Pamela knew that when she spoke like that, she wanted intimacy with him, but today, she didn't feel like it. Besides being tired at work, there was the incident with Mabel. He hadn't had time to leave when Gordon had already marked his territory there. Kevin was hoping to return to his family, but It turns out that she was already busy. That's just what Kevin understood. Mabel is tidy, hard-working. The children are. There is no need to raise them, and a lonely man craves the comfort of home-cooked food. So he began to pay attention to Mabel, and she became beautiful. She thought that he loved her. Kevin's thoughts spoiled her mood even more. Already spoiled, he entered the kitchen. The pan with the macaroni was cold on the stove. Kevin turned on the heat under the pan, waiting for his dinner to heat up, and he sank back into his thoughts. He doesn't have access to part of Mabel's house. He has nowhere to go. So he'll have to. What to live with? Pamela for now. Tyler will come. He will influence Mabel, and he will return home where he has lived for so many years. Mabel loves her son very much. She will listen to him, and Tyler is her son, so he will be on her side. Kevin always knew that Tyler loved him more than Mabel. And Edna loves him too. Kevin, who is burning in here. Pamela ran to the kitchen. The pan with the macaroni was smoking. Pamela grabbed it and threw it into the sink under the water. Looks like you already had dinner, Pamela said. What's wrong with you today? I'm tired. You can't understand that. Just I'm tired. I burned the food good. Out with it. 3 days in a row. Macaroni. How much can I eat them? I work in the cold. I want a normal homemade soup with meat. It's so difficult to prepare. I think I'll give you enough money so that when I get home from work I can eat normal homemade food. And why are you screaming me to work? I don't stay at home. You're not the only one who gets tired. I get tired too, but Mabel always has food ready. Plus she works at home. She corrects notebooks. She prepares for classes the next day. Well, go with your Mabel. And why did you come running to me from your exemplary wife? I was an idiot. Well, now that you are so intelligent, correct your mistakes. Mabel will welcome you with open arms. Who needs her other than you? She is not a woman, just a gray moth. Pamela, you have woken up so much with your tail of peacock that only shows your beautiful tail, but inside you there is only anger and lust, and in your soul there is nothing, only empty. You think I am a fool, and I do not understand that you are not getting younger either. You are not so in demand for sex opposites. So no. I need you to confuse me here, control your character, or don't give me lessons. Morales. Maybe I'll give you Lewis as an example, replied Pamela, and why should I put it? Lewis has become a complete drunk, and not without our participation. Do you think he didn't see how you approached me? He found out that Carol is not his daughter. Betrayals everywhere. Anyone would go down. That's enough of the fights. Give me something to eat. There's nothing more than the macaroni. Kevin couldn't contain himself and started yelling at Pamela, if you don't feed me right now, I will strangle you. You have pushed me to the limit. Kevin, calm down. Pamela got scared. I quickly fried some potatoes. Kevin ate the potatoes and asked Pamela, do we have something to accompany the potatoes? I want pickles or tomatoes. The potatoes are dry. I want something salty. We don't have anything. Maybe you don't prepare preserves. No, how horrible. And what kind of woman are you? There is no magic in your hands. Everything is done anyway. I consider women magicians because of how they cook. My mother is a masterpiece in that she is simply wonderful. Mabel. He learned from her. Stop talking about Mabel. I can be offended. My hands are not meant to prepare elaborate dishes. They are meant for love, said Pamela, smiling. Stop offending you. A long time ago, I understood that your hands and your brain are only meant for that. Next time, at least you add that to the cabbage along with the potatoes. I don't know how to do it. Learn. Ask the women for the recipes and learn. I don't listen to what you said. Well, I will salt the cabbage for you tomorrow. I will be at the repair of the car. It broke down. Prepare my repair things. Since last night, I will leave early, so as not to wake you up. Hurry now. They are on the balcony. You brought them last time, and you left them on the balcony. There they are. Wait, you still haven't washed them. Kevin was indignant. He couldn't get used to his partner's disorganization. I'll take her out of the balcony. Will be warm until the morning, and if I didn't wash them, why are you looking at me like that? You could have washed them yourself. I forgot to do it. I look at you, and what should I do with you? It would be tempting to hit you, so that the black under your eye reminds you when you forget things. Alone. Try it alone. Try it. I will call the police. Pamela shouted. Stop shouting. Go and wash and hang the clothes on the radiators. How do you want them to be used without washing? Pamela reluctantly went to wash Kevin's clothes, and when she approached the bed, he was sound asleep. She woke him up with kisses and demanded caresses. Maybe he sees your rags in vain? I fried potatoes and endured your reproaches. Maybe I don't deserve attention and affection. Kevin, wake up. I'll give you caresses. Everything will be fine. He's tired of obligatory sex. But if you ignore Pamela's request now, your swollen lips will be out of commission for a whole week. Let's go quickly, Kevin said. Tomorrow we have to get up early. No, I don't want it to be long and beautiful. And not only once did a taxi drive up to Mabel's house. Taxis rarely enter this alley. Who are those important people who arrived at Mabel's house? Out of the car came a tall young man, a pregnant woman, and a little boy. As soon as the boy got out of the car, he started making balls. Snowing. He threw the man with shouts and laughter. The man hugged the woman. He laughed and protected her from the child's snowballs. It is clearly a family. A happy family. They headed towards the entrance of Mabel's house, and the neighbors stopped them. There is no one. At home you will have to wait. Sorry, you don't recognize me. The old woman covered her eyes from the bright sun and exclaimed, Tyler, it's you? You've come. Yes, it's me. I missed my family. Beautiful. A real man? Tyler was standing, looking at the neighbor and smiling. How much time has passed? Since I was chasing you with the boys when they were stealing apples, my God, how time flies. And who is that girl with you? She is my wife, and next to her is my son. And we are also expecting another baby. Beautiful wife. You seem very energetic, Tyler. From what I see, no, it's like this because of your father, the neighbor said with a sly smile. Come look at me. Tyler approached the neighbor and hugged her. You don't look like Mabel, and your eyes are beautiful. Like Mabel's. That's good because your father is making such a mess here. Tyler, as he was preparing to leave, he didn't want to listen to the gossip about his father, but the neighbor grabbed his arm and continued with her tirade. Wait, listen to me. We are tired of the trip. Don't worry, you are young. I won't keep you long. So it turns out that your father has become involved with your sister's godmother. She left with her leaving Mabel. We think your mother would go crazy. She has lost weight. She has started hiding her eyes from people. And before Tina got married, Mabel forgave. That idiot Mabel didn't complain about anyone or anything. I have this information from other people. Now she lives with another man. He is good. He loves her. But your father keeps showing up, and it only makes him lose his nerves. The neighbor wanted to tell Tyler how Gordon had kicked Kevin out of the house. But then she realized that her son would be hurt. Because of his father, he might hold a grudge against Gordon, and decided not to tell him about that embarrassing incident with Kevin. Don't interfere with your mother's happiness. She's already suffered enough to make her happy. It's not worth trying to win back your parents' love. It's okay. We'll figure it out. Thank you. The parental home is a place where the soul trembles, where the memories are only good, and the aroma of home is so familiar that it makes the heart pound and the eyes fill with tears. Tyler sat on the couch and cried. Tyler, what's wrong? His wife hugged him. Unpleasant news. I understand. That's not why. I was just flooded with memories. I remembered beautiful young mom taking me to school for the first time. In first grade, she was carrying a bouquet of flowers. I remembered Dad behind the wheel, smiling, then leaving. Of the car taking me in, arms making me jump, kissing me, laughing, and then getting behind the wheel and telling me to drive. Tyler cried even more. He shook his head to keep the tears from his face, but the tears kept falling and Tyler couldn't stop them. I still love my father and my mother. What I do now? How do I separate it? I can't believe this is happening with me, with my parents. Things like this happen in life. Tyler, your mother will be here soon. You need to calm down. What are we going to do now? Is it possible to fix it? I don't know. I don't want to let them get divorced. You understand? I can't hear. Tyler hit his chest with his fist on my heart. I can't separate them. It hurts for my father, and it hurts for my mother. They both make me feel sorry for them. Suddenly, his son approached. Don't cry, Dad. Don't cry. Do you want me to give you my car? Favorite that Mom gave me. Tyler smiled at the boy through the tears. He put his face on his little blonde head and said, No, I will cry, son. Thank you for the car, but that is your gift. Thank you. I will never abandon you ever. Tyler hugged his son and his wife. And no, we will abandon you, Dad. You will see. The son promised. My dears, Mabel cried and laughed as he hugged each of his relatives. How happy I am that you could come. Tyler. Mabel looked at her son with a smile. How beautiful. You are my boy. How beautiful. Tyler smiled in response. Big, strong like you. Father, when I was young, but still you are my son. You look like me, Mabel said with pride. And you guys haven't eaten anything. Maybe you are afraid to take control. No, said Tyler. We have fed our son and my wife is always eating. And Tyler stroked the belly of his wife and I wanted to wait for Edna and then celebrate all together. Tyler reached into his travel bag and took out a box. I don't know if you'll like this gift, Mom, but here it is for you. Oh. They are expensive and trendy French perfumes. Thank you, children. Of course, I love them. I hadn't even dreamed of something like this, but they are very expensive. You need the money yourselves, and the baby will be born soon. Mabel smiled. It doesn't matter, Tyler said. We will make money. The front door slammed and Tyler said, I guess Edna is running here. He didn't say Mabel, and she blinked guiltily. It's Gordon. Mabel's heart was beating so loudly, she thought everyone could hear it. How would Tyler react to his love? What would he say? Good night. Greeted everyone. Gordon and extended his hand towards Tyler. In Mabel's eyes, there was fear and confusion. She feared that Tyler wouldn't shake Gordon's hand. Tyler felt sorry for those self-sufficient adults whose happiness also depended on him. He especially felt sorry for his mother. He extended his hand to Gordon. The father-in-law introduced himself. The men shook hands. Tyler felt his mother sigh, relieved and tired, resting her head on his chest. Then Edna arrived. She hung on to her brother's neck and did not leave him all night. The family sat at the table celebrating Tyler's arrival, everyone. They were happy, full of joy. Tyler's son had already gotten used to it and was sitting on Gordon's lap. Tyler was jealous. The baby could be sitting on the lap of his biological grandfather, who was not present at that table at that moment, whispering to him secrets in his ear and laughing out loud like he was doing now in Gordon's arms, a practically unknown man. But at the same time, Tyler saw how happy his mother was with that man. He wouldn't dare ruin all that. We're going to marry Gordon, Mabel said to her son. When they were left alone in the kitchen, they left them alone. They knew that the son and the mother had to talk. Mabel was washing the dishes and she told him that, afraid to look at her son, as if he had committed something evil, as if he were guilty of everything there was. Happened. Mom, leave the dishes, said Tyler. Sit down, let's talk. Mabel sat next to her son, but she couldn't look at him, as if she were waiting for a trial. Mom, it's true that Dad was with Pamela throughout their entire life together. It's true, Mabel responded without looking up. He was leaving with she, and you forgave him. Yes, no one told you. I forbade anyone to tell you. I was afraid for you, son. Mabel raised her eyes full of tears towards her son. Mom, don't cry. I hug her. Tyler, you don't have to cry. I understand that it hurts you. It hurts me too. I didn't expect that from Dad. But I still love him despite how he is. I love him as much as you. Of course he made a mistake. But that doesn't make him any less dear to me and Gordon. Thanks to him, I was able to endure those humiliations. I didn't want to live. Tyler, I don't want to carry it on your shoulders. My son, all the vileness that your father inflicted on me until now cannot stop bothering me. He comes here and insults me even though we are already divorced. Talk to him, son, so that he doesn't continue doing it. I will talk to him. Mom, I will talk. Don't worry. Tomorrow I will go see him and I will talk about everything. Tyler decided to go see his father alone without his family. He didn't know how his father was going to receive his new life or how Pamela would react to him. So when he was a child, Aunt Pamela came to visit. She always hugged him, squeezed him, and told him. He gave candy. Hi, handsome, she said, and as always she hugged Tyler. There's a storm outside. I was afraid I wouldn't find my way home in this blizzard. So I asked your dad to take me home. When they got to Aunt Pamela's house, father came out next to her and Tyler watched in the car mirror as Aunt Pamela fixed his father's scarf, and he saw that Tyler felt his heart stop. It was so disgusting to him that he was spying on his father, and it seemed to Aunt Pamela that everyone around him could see. As his father was kissing Pamela, the father jumped into the car and they left. Now let's go home, the father said happily. Tyler remained silent. Tyler, why are you so angry? The father tried to pat him on the shoulder, but he pushed his hand away. What's wrong with you, son? The father was surprised. You're not sick, and he put his rough, cold hand on Tyler's forehead. I'm not sick, Tyler said angrily and pushed his father's hand away. I saw how you kissed Aunt Pamela. It was a kiss between friends. After all, Aunt Pamela and him, Uncle Louis, they are our friends. There is nothing more to it, the father justified. What did you imagine, son? You never kiss like that with Uncle Louis, Tyler. I promise you, it's just a kiss between friends. Don't get angry, son, and don't tell anyone. How you would think badly, Dad. You gave me your word. Of a man that you only love, Mom, and that you and Aunt Pamela are only friends. Of course, son, how could you think that? Of course I only love Mom. And then Tyler believed his father because the honest word of a man is only given by real men, and their father, he was one of them. Now he understood what a word of honor meant to his father. It didn't mean anything. Aunt Pamela opened the door. Hello, handsome, you have arrived. Come in. Hello. Tyler gave Pamela a bouquet of flowers. He didn't want to give flowers to that woman at all, but his education did not allow him to visit empty-handed. Dad is home. Kevin, Pamela shouted. Come here, our handsome man has arrived. Tyler's son. Kevin ran to his son to hug him. Tyler hugged his father. and noticed how he had changed. He had thinned almost all of his hair. It had turned gray. His shoulders were stooped. His face was lined with small wrinkles. His father had visibly aged. His mother had hardly changed. His father was noticeably different. "Come into the living room," Pamela said. The men sat on the couch. Tyler didn't. "Let go." To his father from his hug, like that they stayed hugging. "Son, how glad you came. I miss you a lot. You will stay a long time, 2 weeks. Your mother must be very happy. If she is happy, Dad, you will soon be a grandfather." "I will become a grandfather," smiled Kevin. Once again realized how many mistakes had he made. If he were with Mabel at this moment, they would be celebrating together the arrival of his son, and his family excited for the soon arrival of his grandson, since the Mabel had children in common. "Pamela, could you prepare something for the table? Our son doesn't come every day. We don't have anything. We only have soup." "That's what you wanted so much," Pamela answered. "It's not necessary," said Tyler. "I'm not hungry." The father blushed. It was obvious that he was embarrassed by Pamela's words. "At least offer him some tea for the guest." Reluctantly, Pamela went to the kitchen. "Dad, here is a gift." And Tyler took out of his sports bag a blue down jacket that is light as a feather. "It is a light and warm finish jacket. It will probably be a little big for you. You have lost weight." "Thank you, my son. Finally, the children have brought us gifts." Kevin hugged his son and was moved to tears. "Put on the jacket, Dad. Feel how warm and light it is." Kevin obediently put on the jacket, and Pamela entered the room with the tea. "What beauty is this?" One nodded towards Kevin with the new jacket. "It's a finish down," said Tyler. "It's a gift for Dad. It's too big. Now take it off. Let me try it on." Pamela said. Kevin obediently took off the jacket and handed it to Pamela. He put it on and ran into the hallway towards the mirror. "This jacket looks like it was made for me." "Thank you, Tyler, for the gift." "Dad, it's too big. I'll wear it." "He has another jacket, but it's a men's jacket," Tyler said, confused, surprised by Pamela's audacity. "Where it says it's for men, it has a zipper, so I'll gladly wear it. I need a jacket. I was planning to buy something for spring." Pamela responded. "Take off the jacket and return it to Dad," Tyler said, almost threateningly. "It's a gift for him, not for you." "How dare you talk to me like that in my own house, handsome?" Pamela protested indignantly. You could feel that a fight was coming. "God forbid if I find out that you took Dad's jacket." "How bad manners you have as your teacher," he shouted. "Pamela, you are scum," Tyler said through his teeth. "Close that dirty mouth. If you say one more word about my mother, I will break your neck." And Tyler did. In addition to hitting her. "Son," the father shouted, "don't do it. I'm not going to stain my hands with her." "Don't worry, Dad. I'm not your enemy." "No. I intend to go to jail because of this scum." "Dad, how did you mess with her?" Tyler shook his head at Pamela. "You came to return your father to your mother." "I had no intention of returning anyone. I came to see them as people." "Tito, you haven't matured yet enough to talk to me like this. There must be respect." "There is nothing to respect here," said Tyler calmly, and turned to his father. "Dad, there is a restaurant nearby. Let's sit quietly talk. I have been looking forward to seeing you." "Dad, I knew you would take him back to your mother." Said. "Shut up," said Tyler. "Mom is getting married in March. There is no place your father can go back to. He is yours for good." Those words fell on Kevin like boiling water. His whole body was heated with fire. His head felt crushed, and then like if everyone was numb. "I didn't feel anything anymore." "Dad, do you feel bad?" Tyler asked as he watched how his father's face had changed. "I've exhausted him, son. I wish I could think with my head. I'm not young anymore," Kevin said. "Don't worry, Dad. Don't worry. It's happening to me." Sometimes the father lied. "It's the age that makes itself known. Let's go to the restaurant. Come on. We'll sit quietly and talk." "Where are you going?" "My God, you're in a terrible state." "Pamela, stop screaming," Kevin answered calmly. Tyler and his father sat in the restaurant. They remembered all the things good that they had lived together before Tyler went to the army. The father laughed, but fear, sadness, hopelessness was hidden in his eyes. Tyler couldn't hide it from his father. He felt it deeply. He watched as his father devoured. He eagerly ate the steak with fries and understood that Pamela was not taking care of him with the food. Tyler called the waiter and ordered 2 more steaks for his father. "No need, Tyler. It's expensive. I'm already full," said the father. "Eat, Dad. We're not leaving yet." Tyler insisted. "No, we're leaving," said the father with a tired smile. "Tyler, it's true that your mother is getting married." "Yes," Tyler answered briefly. "What a pity," Kevin sighed. "I was hoping that you would come and be able to convince her to forgive me." "I can't," Tyler answered sadly. "I'm sorry, Dad. I had to." Hope that everything could be fixed, but nothing can be fixed now, Tyler sobbed. Kevin, and what about that? As long as we are alive, everything can be fixed. No, in this case, Mom loves another here. You and I are powerless, and I have no right to interfere in her relationship with Gordon. You have the right, son. He rushed. Kevin, you are our son. Tell her you are against her marriage, and she won't want to lose you, son. She will obey you, Dad. That's disloyal to play with people's feelings. No, Dad, I won't do that. For me, Tyler, for could you do it? Ask me anything else, but not that you are asking me to choose between you and Mom. Understand, Dad, you two are equally important to me, so solve all this for yourselves and make your own decisions. It is not my place to teach you how to live. Hello, hello, who is it? Shouted Pamela on the phone receiver. Mabel, wait, don't hang up. Tyler is at home. What happened? He was scared. Mabel, Tyler isn't here. They went for a walk with his family, and he hasn't told you what he did here yesterday with Kevin. He was about to call the police to calm him down, Pamela exclaimed. Mabel felt her whole body tremble. Tyler had not mentioned anything about it. He only told her that he had spoken with his father and that he promised not to bother Mabel, not to cause scandals. He told her that they had been in a restaurant and that both his father and Tyler were happy with that meeting. Pamela, what happened? Tell me. I will tell Tyler. After the restaurant, Kevin got sick. I called the ambulance and they took him away. Your son is in the hospital. She left her father like this and said, Pamela. Pamela dropped the phone receiver. Mabel's legs gave out, and she sat on the couch. If something serious happens to Kevin, she will only blame herself. Why did she let Tyler go to her house? Pamela, it would have been better if Kevin came here. They would have received Tyler here together, but everything has already happened, and now we don't have to panic, but do something about it. To start, Mabel took some calming drops, and when she calmed down a little, she called Pamela. Pamela, no, did you say which hospital he is in? Kevin in the second, shouted Pamela and hung up the phone. Tyler returned to his family after a joyful walk, and Mabel ruined everything with Pamela's news. Tyler, your father is in the hospital with a stroke. What happened there yesterday with you? Pamela was screaming, threatening with call the police. Don't worry, Mom, there won't be any police. I didn't do anything to get their attention. I just stood up to that woman's insolence, if you can call her a woman. Let's not panic. I'll go to the hospital right away. Tyler got dressed, and Mabel came out, ran after her son, and unable to contain her attention, she burst into tears. It's cold. Mom, go into the house. Don't cry. Go inside. You'll catch a cold. Mabel blessed her son. Leaving the house, she went back inside. She sat by the window and waited for Tyler's dad to return. What happened to you? Why did you get sick? Tyler asked energetically and hugged his father. What's wrong? They are strong men. Get well. Who will pamper the grandchildren? Kevin smiled weakly at his son and stammering, he responded, I will do my best, son. Forgive me, father. All this is for me. It's my fault. I didn't hold back. It's not because of you, Tyler. This is all because of myself. As soon as I heard your mom was getting married, I broke down. I realized I had ruined my own life. I realized I lost it with Pamela. I have no life. Have you seen? As my life is, there is nothing that unites us. Only constant scandals. It would be better, my son, if he had died immediately. Dad, why do you say that? I know what I'm saying. There is no joy. It left when I left your mother. Tyler, happiness is in the details, he said. Kevin, with a sad smile, now alive. In the past, remembering how easy and calm my life was with Mabel, it is not in vain that my mother said that there is no one like Mabel. Tyler, we consider ourselves more intelligent than our parents, and we often dismiss their words. We do not listen to them. We make mistakes that are irreparable like this. It's like what happened to me. Let me tell you, my son, take care of your family. Take care of what you have. Don't repeat my mistakes. Listen to my words as a father. I didn't listen to my mother. So listen. Don't worry so much, Dad, Tyler responded. I heard you. I talked to the doctor. He promised that everything will be normal, but we have to fight, not give up. There is no need for me to fight, Tyler. But if he has not died, I must recover so as not to be a burden for Pamela. At that moment, a nurse arrived within 4 and asked the visitors to leave. Kevin was lying with the serum and remembered his life with Mabel. Tyler asked him who looked at his grandchildren, and he remembered how he spoiled his sons, Tyler and daughters. Tina and Edna asked him for money for dresses, Tyler for trendy sneakers, or anything else. He never denied them. Nothing. He watched as his daughters turned in front of the mirror, admiring their new shoes or dresses, as Tyler was happy too. He was happy for them. Even if they were small things, he could make them happy. That made him happy, and there were never any scandals in his family that destroyed the peace in the home. Mabel was always quiet, and the children did not witness their arguments. and the children were educated by Mabel while he was traveling or enjoying himself in Pamela's bed. Mabel raised the children and never reproached him for anything. That they had wonderful children. Created, they were the pride of his parents. How is he? What's going on there? He was worried. Mabel is conscious. She is conscious. He just gets a little stuck. When speaking, the doctor doesn't offer a prognosis. He is still unstable. The next night, Pamela called Tyler on the phone and started shout, "Design your father. I spoke to the doctor, and he said that now your father is an invalid. And why do I need him? I am not going to take care of him. He has lived his life with you. He worked for you. He brought you money, and now you leave it to me, old and sick, so handsome. I don't need your father. Sick, I'm not going to dedicate my life to his bed. I'm not going to take him out of the hospital. That's your father. Take care of him." And Pamela hung up the phone because she called. She was worried. Mabel said that she doesn't love the sick father and that she won't take him out of the hospital. Mabel was shocked by this news. "We are going to bring Tyler here," said Gordon. "But what to do? Where is he going to go? I guess he doesn't get along with his sister." Everyone looked at him, and each one imagined that situation in their mind. "How will that look?" asked Mabel. "Two husbands and I alone," is a laugh. Tyler imagined how his mother would build her happiness with Gordon in front of his father, who was already overwhelmed, and he understood that that would only make things worse for his father. "No," Tyler said, "we can't do that. Tyler, let's take him with us." Tyler's wife proposed. "It doesn't matter. We will settle in, and soon you will have a new apartment. I think this is the best option for everyone. I will take a leave of absence. I will take care of him. He will recover little by little. We will help him." No one expected that, not even Tyler. The words of gratitude came to him. They got stuck in the throat. Tyler hugged his wife and whispered in her ear, "Thank you, honey, thank you, love." On the station platform, everyone said goodbye to Tyler, his family, and Kevin. Gordon decided not to go to the station, and Mabel thanked him for that. Gordon is tactful and always knows how to act correctly. The right thing was for Mabel herself to say goodbye to her son and her ex-husband Kevin. He could already sit down and was sitting in the carriage looking out the window at his loved ones. Kissing and hugging, Edna ran into the wagon, hugged his father, and kissed him on his unshaven cheek, then asked him, "Dad, write to me, call me, I'm going to wait. And in May they will come to our wedding. Do you listen to me, Dad?" "I listen to you, Edna. I will write, I will call, and I will definitely come. I am so happy that Tyler and his wife told me take them with you, Edna. I will definitely recover, and I will live for you. I will help. I will spoil the grandchildren," my little daughter cried excitedly. "Kevin, do you believe me, Edna? I always knew. Dad, just live please for us." Edna ran towards the platform, while Kevin blew on the glass of the car window. The window fogged up, and he wrote with his finger, "Sorry, Mabel." Then he hit the window. Everything. They turned and read what Kevin had written. Mabel smiled at Kevin and nodded. Kevin looked at Mabel and thought, how could he lose a woman like her? She is unique. The train was gaining speed and taking with it a part of Mabel's soul, a part of her past. When Mabel saw Kevin sick in the window of the car, she felt sorry for him again, like that day when he arrived broken from the Pamela's house and she asked him to stay. She understood that she had finally forgiven him, but her heart only belongs to Gordon, a loving husband and Leal, waiting for her at home. It is an incredible story. Really, thank you for seeing it through to the end. I hope with all my heart that you, if you liked it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate this video. See you in the comments and in the new releases.